See, that's what differentiates us and what we're talking about from all the talking heads on TV. They're not being
That's right.
optimistic about this.
We are forward looking. That's what we are.
That's right.
Shut up, Rick.
This is the AT Banter podcast, a balanced and entertaining look at assistive technology, accessibility, and its importance in people's lives. Join Rob Minot, Ryan Fleury, and Steve Barclay as they banter with people around the world about anything and everything regarding assistive technology and the disability community. Now, on with the show.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of AT Banter.
Banter, banter. That's just sad, man.
Yeah.
That is a second-rate cowbell.
That is not a good... We need the cowbell from Ryan's place.
I know. Of all the things that COVID-19 has wrought upon the world is the fact that we have the inability to do a proper cowbell. Anyways, hey, I am Rob Minot. Joining me, as you can guess, Mr. Steve Barclay.
That would be me with the cowbell.
And Mr. Rick Chan.
You're not the only one who has a cowbell.
Oh, dueling cowbells. Nice.
Interesting. Hey, and we are, of course, coming to you via some different methods than usual. Of course, we're in the same boat that everybody else in the world is in, which means we can't really be in the same room together. So we are all in our respective homes.
Yeah, but
we can't be in the same room together most of the time because we fight. But
what's interesting is that unlike every other program that's being broadcast out there, we are the only one that moved out of the basement upstairs.
That is true. Yeah, it is really weird. Have you guys been watching like some of the late night stuff that where they've been doing it out of their homes and their basements, and it's...
Yeah. It really shows you which comedians are funny.
Yeah, it really does. You're not so big without that studio audience with the big applause signs. But it's also weird, even like watching the news coverage where you see like anchors like doing their shows from their living rooms, or in front of, actually I should say a lot of times it's in front of a green screen, so that they can just fill in the background to a cityscape or make it look like they're still in the studio, but they're clearly not because of the audio quality.
Yeah.
But it's weird. It's weird times. So speaking of weird times, when's the Christmas party?
Well,
No.
under quarantine,
2035, I believe, is when it's scheduled for.
The timing might coincide. We might be out of our basements by then. No, we thought about today's show, and we thought of some different topics, and just kept coming back around to talking about what is on everybody's mind and what everybody is dealing with at the moment, which is our good old friend COVID-19, the virus, once again.
We love you, COVID-19.
But I thought that today what we would do is we would talk a little bit about being at home, being isolated, being cooped up in our respective places, and some things that we could maybe do to help mitigate the insanity.
Yeah, there's a strange lady here. She says she's my wife. She seems nice.
Well, let me ask you guys, how have you guys been finding this?
I've had some issues with it. Nicole still comes to work Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So I get her for 4 hours. But other than that, I'm pretty much in isolation because Sue's being at the hospital, working 8 to 5, 5:30, 6. Once she gets home, we don't want to be going out if she's been in contact with it, and she's wiped. By the end of the day, she is hosed. I've been pretty well housebound, and I'm really finding it challenging.
Yeah, I've got both Jackie and my daughter Abby home right now. Abby's doing a movie makeup course through Vancouver Film School, and they've been trying valiantly to adapt a makeup program to, Zoom meeting, but yeah, not going so well, I don't think. My wife, she's an accountant. She's working from home. She's doing her thing, staying off the phone while I'm podcasting.
I did see her bring you a drink the other day, though. That was awfully nice.
Isn't that? Yeah, it's so nice. But yeah, we're doing okay. It's just the biggest problem is because so much of our business is education and government, and they're essentially both shut down. It's just really quiet here. So boring.
Right.
Just before the podcast came on, I'd forgotten that we were doing it 1 today, and before the alarm went off, I was walking over to the big bin of socks. I was gonna match socks in front of the TV just to while away the time.
There's a pastime for you.
Oh yeah!
Wow.
Yeah, party on.
Yeah, no, it is. It's it is kind of true. Something like doing laundry is like a big highlight, or going to the grocery store. That's a big one for me, where it's just like, that's a whole affair now. But I mean, I'm in a bit of a different situation. Of course, I just live in a 1-bedroom with a cat. So, initially I was good. I'm by nature an introvert. So I thought, this is going to be a cakewalk for me. This is great. Out of all the apocalyptic scenarios, a pandemic is something I've got the best shot at. But I'll admit, after after a good week and a half, it started to affect me. I was just like, this sucks. Like, I'm actually craving human
Adult
contact
interaction.
and social interactions, and like, I miss all those things. And it's funny, the things that you do miss, even small things like, just walking across the street to Starbucks and getting an afternoon coffee as a bit of a break from work. Can't do that anymore. Obviously, it's minor compared to some of the other things that are going on, but it's this real interruption of what we've built as our daily lives that I think that a lot of people right now are there's a little bit of a grieving process about that, because I think especially this week, I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the news, but I feel like this is the week where we in North America, it's really starting to be hit home that we are in this for a while. There's a new reality that we have to sort of face. And a lot of the people that I've been talking to online and stuff, that's what they're going through right now. There's this stress and anxiety and real tension in the air, because people are like, this isn't something that is just going to be lifted in a week, and we're all just going to go back to normal.
I figure the middle to the end of the summer.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think governments have tried to be really responsible and not freak people out.
Yeah.
Because they don't want people, running out going, oh my God, we've got to stock up until July, and really wipe out the shelves. I think they're trying to, say, oh, it's just going to be a couple of weeks so that people stock up for just a couple of weeks and get to know that, the grocery stores are still going to function and stuff.
Yeah, and in a couple of days, they'll give you a couple more weeks.
Yeah.
And a couple more days beyond that, it's going to be another couple of weeks.
Yeah,
So.
but yeah, we're gonna be doing this social distancing, social isolation thing for some time to come, and we're probably going to do it again in the fall, I would think, because this thing's likely to resurface in the fall as well. So, this is our new reality.
Yeah, I would assume that we are kind of in this until they either develop some sort of an antiviral treatment that can really mitigate the symptoms, or an outright vaccine. Because really this thing's out there, it's not going away, and all it takes is one person, and this all starts up all over again. So
Yep.
life really can't go back to the way it was until are able to vaccine against it.
Yeah, until we develop herd immunity.
And I think that people are just starting to realize that. And I'm sure that the WHO and the CDC. I mean, I think they've known this for a long time. I think they are smart in the way that they roll this out to people. Like first it's just, okay, we got to do this for 2 weeks, and then it's another 2 weeks, and then, okay, well maybe it's going to be another month, and ease people into it. Because certainly if we had gone into this thing where they would have been like, hey, we're going to have to do the quarantine and social distancing for the next 3 months, they know that people would freak out.
Absolutely. You'd have people out there stockpiling stuff. It'd be this survivor mentality.
And it was bad enough even without doing that, right? Like even at 2 weeks, people freaked out, and we had the ridiculous toilet paper shortages, and we had empty food shelves, and people kind of did already lose themselves just over 2 weeks. So I think that they've probably been doing this the right way in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing for a lot of people right now is just trying to deal with this new reality, and coming to terms with the fact that we're all going to have to live our lives a little bit differently for the next little bit until we get this figured out.
So, a quick survey of you two: have you connected with family more during this?
Yeah, I have.
So have I, especially my mom. But yeah, I've been Facebooking and stuff with my extended family in Newfoundland. So, yeah, I would say by far and away.
I would say that's the one plus that's come out of this is I've made more contact with my siblings in Ireland. I've talked to my mom more times this month than probably ever before. In terms of reconnecting, this has been a pretty good opportunity for it, and I think that's something that people can do in a virtual way to sort of mitigate some of the boredom.
Yeah, I heard one of the talking heads say something that was interesting today, which was basically this was a global crisis that we haven't really seen since World War II. I thought that was an interesting analogy because in a way it's very true. For generations we have been pretty squishy. We've had it pretty good.
Yeah, it's true.
And so this is sort of the first thing that a first event that's really had global implications that we've had to deal with for a couple generations now. And I don't know how to frame this to not sound not to put too much of a weird spin on this, but in a way, once we come through this, it could very well be a good thing for a couple different reasons. I think that in terms of pandemic dress rehearsals, we could have done a lot worse. We could.
Oh yeah.
There could have been something like that was as deadly and a high mortality rate as Ebola, that was as easy to transmit as COVID-19, that would have decimated a lot more people. Yep. So in a way, it's good that this has happened because it really wakes the world up to realize that, hey, this the idea of a pandemic is it can happen. And it can happen very easily, and we have to stay vigilant over this, because I don't think any country would make the same mistakes that a lot of countries did ever again. But
that's true. But from the other perspective, you're right. I think this is a great dress rehearsal, and I think people involved have learned a lot of lessons in a short period of time. And to be able to apply that going forward, it might make the difference between a high mortality rate and one that's medium high.
And not only that, but I also like to think that this is a real test of this idea of a global village. We've never seen something on a global level that was at a global level that affected us at such a micro level. like generally we have these big, global events. Like even say the last thing in memory that I can think of over here in North America would be say 9/11. 9/11 was a huge deal, but if you weren't in New York, and especially if you were just on the continent, it was something that you were able to watch from a distance and still feel removed from it. It didn't affect most likely your day-to-day life. Here we have this global event that has affected every single one of us, our daily lives, our daily routines, what we can actually do with our day, and how we make money. Everything. It's infused itself into every little bit of everybody's day-to-day life, and that's never happened before. So I like to think that is going to really draw us together in a way that nothing else ever has before.
Well, I love your starry-eyed idealism there, Rob. I really do, and I hope you're right, because if nothing else results from this, it should really result in a lot of governments in the world putting together quarantine action plans,
Right.
and protocols around around pandemics. That are far more robust and detailed than anything that we had to date. Because boy, did we just see the holes in our system with this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, we're still seeing the holes in our system.
Yep.
But you know, I just think I have less faith in humanity than you do.
That could be. I mean, hey, I am the optimist of the show.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, and again, to quote one of our other favorite phrases is, well, we'll just have to see what happens.
Oh, Rob.
Okay, well, I think we've belabored that enough.
Oh yeah.
But I have another question for you guys, and I want to get your thoughts. This is something else that I've been thinking about over the past few weeks. All this working from home business, with so many companies scrambling to try to set up a system where their workers can work remotely. And this is has been the explosion that the Zoom meeting platform has had, that a lot of people I'm sure have heard about. But this idea of working from home, do you think that once we get through all this, that might also have a real effect on the way that companies conduct day-to-day business? Do you think that some of this working from home, working remotely policies, do you think that they'll sort of survive this, and that on the other side of this, they'll just continue to let certain employees work from home?
Well, I think it will have a long-term effect with some of the bigger companies. People who are renting huge spaces for cubicles for workers. Why am I renting 30,000 square feet when I can rent 10,000 square feet for my core or my management group or whatever, and everybody else can work from home?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a cost saving to a company, and it's got environmental impacts, and it's got, dollars and cents impact.
Yeah, I think there are certain advantages to getting your workforce together in one place and having them be able to interact. And I think we found that just between ourselves, working from our homes. There's times when you want your staff to be together, but I think what should come of this, and what I hope comes from this, is a lot of bigger companies have better policies, particularly around flu season, for allowing employees to work from home. If you've got a sniffle, stay home.
Right.
Work from home. If you've got a cough, stay home. Work from home. We know that there are tens of thousands of people who die just from seasonal flu every single year, And we don't have to have the transmission level for the seasonal flu that we have either. You know, this pandemic, because it's so much more deadly, has really taught us that we can isolate and reduce the transmission of a disease. We can do that with the seasonal flu too, and I hope that companies will take the responsible measure of making sure we do.
There's another side to that too, though. Is oh, sorry, I got a sniffle. I need to stay home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah.
The hypochondriac kind of problem?
Yeah, that one.
Well, you know, there might be policies around that too. Like, you know, you got to get a doctor's note or something. I don't know, but there's got to be checks and balances.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think something that for sure that we'll see impacted is business trips. I don't think on the other side of this, I don't think companies are going to be quite as fast to be sending their employees all over the world on to attend meetings and stuff like that when they can just do it through something like Zoom. I think we're going to see a downtick on that, especially after this pandemic. I think a lot of people are going to be a little bit, you know, cautious about traveling quite as much as we used to.
Yeah, well, you know, I've been thinking about, you know, typically when I've gone out to Alberta or Saskatchewan, I've flown. You know, when I first started in this industry, I didn't. I drove, but, you know, airfare came down and it became easier and I started to fly. I don't know that I want to do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of people are going to feel like that. So I definitely think that, you know, and again, this ties back to the airline industry. I think that they're in for a real rough ride over the next few years, because I think that even when this thing is resolved, I don't think people are going to be flying as much as they used to. But anyways, we're kind of getting off the topic. So, because where I wanted to kind of transition to with that idea is that down the road, this may actually help the case for inclusive hiring policies, because if more companies are more open these days to the idea of having employees that can work remotely, that also might open up their hiring policies to people, say, with a disability that would prevent them from, say, commuting to an office on a daily basis.
That'd be
Yes.
nice if it had that effect.
Do you think there's a chance of that?
I would really hope so. You know, I think about, you know, somebody like, you know, our friend Darren, who
Yeah.
has CP, and you know, his situation varies from day to day depending on, you know, how he woke up, and it makes it very difficult for him to work in a traditional office setting, because he doesn't know day to day how long it's going to take him to get out of bed, get dressed, get on, if he can. So, you know, he'd be much better in a more flexible and a work from home type of environment. But not a lot of companies have had that as an option. So this has really shown a lot of companies that, you know, yeah, you can have employees working from home and you can still function.
Right.
And you know, maybe more positions like that can open up.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, especially a lot of these companies over the next 3 months or however long we're in this for, they're going to have set up the infrastructure for all of this working from home. They'll either have gone to Zoom and they'll have bought, you know, corporate Zoom licenses or whatever. But the infrastructure will still all be there once this blows over, and I can't see them just sort of tossing that to the side and not going forward and utilizing it more. So this could really have a positive effect on inclusive hiring practices, you know, in the future.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about How to maintain your sanity while you maintain your distance.
Well,
That was a long
I know.
conversation.
Yeah, I know nothing about that. Can we move on to the next topic?
You know, we're all stuck here. I've had a lot of time to think about this, clearly, as we all have. But I'm curious. Before we start into this seriously, what has changed for you guys in terms of your daily schedule or things that you do now that you never did before, in terms of just, you know, stuff to break up the monotony, or have you felt the monotony?
Oh, yeah. let's revisit that whole conversation about sorting socks, right?
I haven't. Well, that's not true. I have adjusted my routine. Normally, I will go out and pick up a bunch of units from a particular facility and do them and return them. And this time I reached out to the facility and said, you know, this is going on. You guys are on a skeleton crew. This still needs to be done. If not for this year, then for the next school year. Why don't I just come and get a mitt full of them? And that way I'm keeping my distance over a longer period of time, and they're still getting done, irrelevant of you know, when they're needed back. And that has worked really well. It's the closer in routine has changed a little bit in that through the middle of the week, you know, I'll break at 10 o'clock and go and grab a coffee and do whatever stuff that I've got to do out on the road. But then I'm home for the day. And, you know, if it's something else comes up that I need to be out, like I do, that we have 2 care facilities here in the valley, and I've offered to do grocery shopping and stuff for them. And there have been several people who've reached out, and I've done that for them. But I mean, that's a pretty small price to pay.
Yeah, I think that for me, schedule has been a big one. I've really started to stick to this real rigid schedule, more so than I ever have before. But I find that I'm doing it even more now.
Yeah, it's really important to follow a routine. There's no question. You know, I try and stick to the same routine every morning. But where I'm finding it hard now is sticking to a routine in the afternoon when there's nothing going on.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go over a couple things that people can do to help during this time.
You mean aside from call and buy assistive technology?
Let's talk the advent of the video chat. You know, we talked earlier about how staying in contact with family and friends is more important now than ever. So certainly using one of these platforms to talk to family and friends, whether it be one-on-one or in a huge party, is a big one. I think that, you know, this whole quarantine, isolation is our biggest enemy. And using technology to sort of combat that is one of the main things that we can do. So, you know, everybody has a smartphone. So everybody, of course, is, you know, either has FaceTime on Apple, on iOS phones. Android phones has, what's that Google thing called that really hasn't caught on yet? Duo.
Yeah, Duo.
Nobody uses Duo, so I don't even know why I brought it up. But it's there. It's there if you want to use it. But of course, unless you've been living under a rock, you've probably heard of this new platform. Well, it's not a new platform, but you've probably heard of Zoom. And that is what a lot of people are using. And the real advantage that Zoom has, I feel, over everything else is that it works great. It's fairly easy to use. It's very robust so that you can use it on a personal basis, but it's also really good if you're a corporation and you're looking at big business meetings. And the big one is that out of all of these platforms, it's easily the most accessible. Somebody with a screen reader can navigate it pretty easily. It's not perfect, but it's certainly head and shoulders above Skype or Microsoft Teams or any of these other meeting platforms like WebEx or GoToMeeting. I mean, those are all those are horrible accessibility wise, or at least they used to be.
Yeah, I remember when we were first starting up the podcast, we looked at what did we look at? We looked at WebEx, we looked at Skype, and they were just unreliable. And Zoom, which even back then was free, was solid.
Yeah,
and it was weird to see this little, what I perceived to be at least, this little company going up against companies like Microsoft, who owns Skype, and Cisco, who owns WebEx, and just blowing them out of the park. I don't know. They must have had some sort of compression algorithm or something that just made their system better. But it was really night and day when we played with it a couple of years ago, and now Zoom is way out in front. And that's at least my impression.
Yeah, it's my impression too. You hear everybody talking about it. So,
yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning too that on our website, under the blog posts, there is a document there, and I'm just getting there right here. It's called "Who's Zooming Who," written by this guy named Rob Minot. And it's got listings of all of the hotkeys for different platforms. Very, very helpful little document you got there, Rob.
well, thank you. If you haven't played with Zoom, I'd highly recommend doing so. Again, it's free. It's a great little program, very accessible.
Yep. And, all kinds of stuff going on. The CCB's doing their getting together with technology stuff. They're doing more and more of that. CNIB's doing stuff. We're doing stuff. We got our virtual pub night tonight, which, of course, by the time this airs, will have been, 3 nights ago. But whatever. Stay tuned. Get on our mail list, and you'll see our stuff too. Yeah, great platform. Lots going on it. So great way to reconnect with people.
Yep. And I'm sure that by this time next year, what will happen is Microsoft will buy Zoom, and then they'll embed it into the operating system. And at that point, Zoom will die. They'll ruin it, and it will just die.
I'd say that's unlikely, but
I don't know. That seems to be
kind of likely.
I don't know. As much as I kind of like Microsoft, you have to admit that everything they touch is kind of dies. Whenever they try to bundle something into their own operating system, you kill it.
Yep.
So
what other stuff could we do? I've noticed online there are just a gazillion courses that are being discounted hugely, like just massive discounts on these online learning courses right now. I'm very tempted. There's a writing course by Neil Gaiman that I'm very tempted by.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a bunch of different stuff out there, and I keep seeing it coming up on my Facebook feed for the most part. But online learning, man, I don't think there's ever been a better time to take an online learning course than right now.
That's definitely something that is on the list as well. Like using this extra time to improve a skill set or to learn a new skill set, even if it's just for fun. It doesn't even have to be professional development. Learn a different language. I've compiled a little bit of a list. The Accessibyte platform.
Accessibyte has a bunch of different stuff. They've got Typeo, which is their talking typing tutor, and Typeo Online is the online version of it, which is kind of cool because you can log into it and you can use any device to type on. They've got Quick Cards Online, which is kind of a flashcards kind of thing. And then they've also got Accessibyte Arcade online as well, which is a bunch of different games. All of those are available online right now for free at accessibyte.com. So that's ACCESSIBYT, byte as in a unit of memory.
Okay. So here's another one. JAWS. JAWS, the screen reader, of course, is free for how long? 45 days? Was it?
Beginning of June, I think, until the beginning of June, if I recall.
So there you go. If you've always been curious about the JAWS screen reader, now's the time. Try it out.
Or if you're in a workplace where they've just sent you home and you've got to work from home and you don't have a screen reader at home that you did have at work, there you go. You've got a JAWS at home now.
Well, I think that's what that was designed for, wasn't it? It's not a free license. It's a 45-day license that people can use while they're working from home. Is that not the whole mindset
or while they're doing
that?
or while they're doing schoolwork from home. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. For home use, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all I guess what they've basically done is just extended that time to demo that they've always had, correct?
Exactly.
Right. But still, a great opportunity to, pick something, a new program up and try it out. The Dolphin Supernova screen reader and magnification software is also free for, I believe, about the same amount of time, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Steve?
Yep.
So again, great time to go learn a new piece of software, try something out. Not a lot of people know this, but Lynda.com, which is a big online learning platform, and actually I think they're just rebranding right now. I think they're now called LinkedIn Learning because LinkedIn bought them. Not a lot of people know this, but you can have free access to their entire library of online courses. All you need is a public library card. So if you have a public library card, you can sign in through your public library's online portal. Boom, you've got access to literally hundreds and hundreds of online courses that way.
Huh, I've never even heard of these guys. Yeah, it looks mostly just from their front page like professional development types of courses too.
Yeah, that's right.
And of course, it's a great time to be watching the stupid things that people are doing during this pandemic as well, because there are some really profound examples of insanely stupid people out there.
Yes, there are.
Yep.
I was going out for my 10 o'clock coffee this morning, and I looked around the corner. I live right here on a corner of the block, and Dad was coming down the road on his longboard with Baby up in his arms. Baby had a bicycle helmet on. Dad was helmeted up. He was talking on his cell phone. It's like, oh my God, only in Vancouver.
Ha. True story.
True story. True story.
Crazy.
Okay, hey, I've got another one, and this one's actually very important. Exercise.
Yeah, I actually went out running yesterday because I just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, it's, the real shame of this is I was really getting into a really good workout routine. Ever since New Year's, when I sort of made a resolution to work out 5 days out of the week, I was doing it. I was getting into the groove. I was just getting into the mindset. I was actually looking forward to workouts. And then this happened, and the gym in my building closed, which probably will be closed for the next, who knows how long. But so much for that. I'm going to lose all that momentum and gain back the paunch. So
well, you don't have to, though. That's the thing. You see, Abby came to me the other day. She said, hey, my friend Sierra and I have decided that we're going to do these 50 crunches and 50 squats morning and night each day. Do you want to join me in them? And I went, yeah, absolutely. I'll join you in them. I've been doing some running, it'd be a nice little thing to, work some different muscles.
And did 50 crunches kill you?
I did 50 crunches. I did 50 squats. Hey, I finished ahead of her. Come on. No problem.
Yeah.
Next day, I could barely walk up the stairs.
Youthful abandon.
Yeah.
That's very true. See, again, we just have to adapt. So, with that in mind, actually one website that I will recommend to people for people who are visually impaired. Mel Scott runs a great website called Blind Alive, and her website's at www.blindalive.com, all one word, and we'll of course link it in the show notes. But she's got free MP3 downloads of audio guided exercises and stretches. She has some meditation ones, some yoga ones, Pilates, light weights. She sort of runs a whole variety of different routines that, again, you can just download the MP3, load it on your phone, put on your headphones, and just run through these routines in your living room just every morning. And again, you can work that into this idea of your daily schedule, and stay active, because that's going to be a really important component of this, because otherwise we're all going to be 600 pounds when we come out the other side of this. And believe me, with the way that I've been eating, it's not good. It's not a good combination.
I've been staying in and baking things, and mostly what I've been baking is bread, and I nearly actually killed myself on bread the other day. Just chowed down on some focaccia that I made because it turned out pretty well. And I was extremely uncomfortable for the rest of the day and most of the next day. You know how they say you shouldn't feed bread to like ducks and geese and stuff because it swells in their stomach and makes them all bloaty. Yeah, I was the goose.
Well, I want to give a shout out to my daughter, who weighed herself this morning and has been doing so for the last several months, and is down 40 pounds.
Nice.
That's impressive. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was really pleased.
Reading's been on my list of things to do more for a long time, but now we've all got the time for it. We can catch up on all those books that we've always wanted to read that we never got around to reading because we just couldn't find the time somehow. But I don't know about you, but let me ask you this: do you find that your ability to focus reading has really been impacted?
Yes and no. Fundamentally, my ability to focus on reading is fine. If you took me out of this house and stuck me in the middle of the forest somewhere in a lawn chair, I would be able to read for hours, no problem. The problem is that being here at home with things happening and things coming and going and the phone ringing and the computer making bing sounds when messages come in and things like that, it's way too distracting an environment for reading for me most of the time.
Yeah, I'm easily distracted while I'm reading as well. Now, I've always been a reader, or not always been a reader, but I've been a reader for the last number of years. And when I heard that the possibility was going to happen that the library was going to button up for the duration, my wife and I went over, and I think she got 10 or 12 books, and I got 4 or 5. So, we're fairly avid readers. So I haven't found that it has changed my way of approaching a book.
Self-care.
Who does not like a good spa day?
Absolutely.
Again, use this spare time to treat yourself in ways that, maybe you never did before because you didn't have the time. Or if you did have the time, you've always felt guilty because you were taking time to yourself. But try to do things that are taking care of yourself, both mentally and physically. So that could be anything from, taking a bath, or doing one of those facial mask things, or doing your nails, or I don't know what else do people, because this is something that I never do either, so I shouldn't. Eat some comfort food. That's what I do. There you go. Make a grilled cheese sandwich and tomato soup.
Ooh, nice.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're feeling stressed, you're feeling a little anxious, do something about it. Treat yourself. Have some ice cream. Hey, here's another idea. What people can do. Go find some new podcasts to listen to. Again, we live in this great technological age where we have so much entertainment at our fingertips, entertainment and infotainment and just information. Go out and explore. You know, if you've got Spotify, they have an entire podcast section. If you're using one of those podcast apps like Pocket Cast or something, or even you're just using the default podcast software that comes on Android or iOS, go try some different podcasts out. But still,
yeah, I'm even going to go one further, and I'm going to recommend a podcast.
Okay, go.
For those who might be casting about for something totally different. There's a storytelling podcast called Risk: True Tales Boldly Told, which has been going on for ages now, years, and there's a lot of very body risque stuff in that podcast. It is very much an adult podcast, so don't show it to the kids. But excellent, very entertaining, very weird sometimes. Totally will take you out of your element, and yeah, enjoy.
And possibly your comfort zone by the sound of it.
Oh, likely. Oh yeah, almost likely.
Yeah, there's so much content out there. So, you know, and a lot of the podcast apps are set up in a way where you can choose different categories. So if you're interested in movies, or if you're interested in, you know, true crime stuff, I mean, there's something for everybody out there. So
that's the other one. That's the other one. That's a Vancouver-based podcast. Is true crime, about past committed crimes, and she dwells into the nitty-gritty details of it.
Right.
And it's based on true stories. And my oldest daughter raves over it. She loves it.
Yep. Yeah, there's so much good stuff out there. So you can just spend hours and hours just doing that. So.
Oh.
Yep.
Another one.
Yep.
Another one. Another local Vancouver one done by some folks I know called Caustic Soda.
Oh, yes.
That's another good one too. Yeah, they always take something that is I don't know how to describe it, weird and horrifying maybe, and go into it in great detail. So, yeah, it's a great podcast.
I mean, I would say that, you know, use the opportunity to also just, you know, immerse yourself in things that you really enjoy. You know, a good example of something that I'm going to do on the next few days. I love the Lord of the Rings movies, like the first 3.
Marathon.
Yeah, I've got the extended versions, and it's like 9 hours to watch. And I've never really watched them back to back to back. So probably this weekend, I'm just gonna load them up and just go from morning to night and just immerse myself in Lord of the Rings. Everybody has something like that. Like, you know, find something that you really love that you haven't done for a while, and just go revisit it.
Yep, good plan.
My dear love wife doesn't know it, but this is day 12 for her. And I put my foot down and told her she was not working this coming weekend, and we're going to steal away to the cabin.
Yes, which is another good one too, actually, that we didn't really talk about. We touched on a little bit on exercise, but I think it's also really important to get out and get some fresh air.
Oh, for sure.
And
even if it's sitting outside on the stoop.
That's right.
Just the fresh air alone is so worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that it's a stressful time to travel, you know, especially if, say, you're visually impaired. You know, you're not going to necessarily want to go take transit anywhere. But yeah, even if it's just a walk around the block, or if it's just sitting on your stoop, sitting on your balcony for, you know, a half an hour, just get that fresh air. Very important as well.
Yippers. And a couple other suggestions too. One, if you have a song that absolutely gets you pumped for exercise, I want to know about it. I'm trying to put together a playlist to keep me running. And what was the other one? Yeah, if you've got any good dirty jokes, you just make sure you email those to me, because I loves me a good dirty joke.
Steve, You're not supposed to get something that's really upbeat and a hype me uppy to run with.
What do you mean?
You're supposed to chug along. How long are your runs?
About 5K.
Time-wise?
Depends on how I'm doing on that 5K.
Exactly. Are you a seasoned runner?
I would say that I'm a lightly flavored runner.
Okay. Not too hard, not too fast. Everything in moderation.
Absolutely.
That's right. I guess if it pumps you up too much, then you break you break your pace, and then you.
It doesn't break my pace. It's all good.
Okay.
I've got a pretty solid running mix going right now. It's pretty good.
Believe it or not, I listen to Disney while I'm running.
For some reason, I believe that.
I swear to God, it's true. That nice 4/4 timing, it's ideal for my pace.
Yeah, I've always kind of thought of you as a Disney princess too.
I have 2 words for you.
You're about that much maintenance. Yeah. You need a lot of birds flying around you to keep you dressed and stuff.
Closing thoughts, gentlemen. So,
do well.
Yep.
Be safe. We're all going to come out of this eventually, and it might be different on the other side, but know that your friends are dear to you, and you're dear to your friends, and this is not the end of the world. And, we'll be here on the other side, and we love you guys.
Man.
I can't add anything to that. That's
warm
perfect.
and fuzzies. Yeah, he summed it up perfectly. Yeah, that's right.
It's the sort of thing you'd expect from a Disney princess, right?
That's okay, Rick. I know what you were going to say, and I heard it in my head. You didn't even have to say it, so I don't even have to bleep it. So I appreciate that. We all, after 20 years, we know. All right. I think that's going to about do it for us for this week. Stay tuned. Our next show, I'm sure we'll be talking about something other than this. We've taken 2 weeks to talk about it. I think by then we'll be ready to move on to something a little different.
Making a commitment now to not talk about COVID stuff?
Well, what if something big happens? I don't know. Should we?
Well, it can be a news item, and then we move on.
Fair enough. Okay, good. All right. Yes, we'll commit to that. Hey, Steve.
Yeah, Rob.
Where can people find us?
Well, people can find us on our website, www.atbanter.com.
They can also find us on the old social media, of course, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, and I understand they can email us too.
Yeah, that's right. They can email us too at cowbell@atbanter.com.
There you go.
Hey, incidentally, have you, I don't know if I asked you this already, but are they doing like the whole banging of pots and ringing of things over in your complex?
Every day at 7.
Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, I find the cowbell, those little cowbells that Ryan gave us work really well for that.
Oh, I never even thought about the cowbell for it. Yeah.
Yeah. You should do it. Somebody's been playing a trumpet around here.
Nice.
I'm not sure where exactly. I think it's in my building somewhere, maybe on the upper floor. But yeah, that's a nice addition too.
I've got a cast iron lid for a Dutch oven and a metal spoon that work pretty well.
Yeah, that would work really well too. Yeah. But all right, that is going to about do it for us this week. Thanks everybody for listening. Stay safe out there, and we will see everybody in a few weeks.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions across Canada. Find us online at www.canasstech.com. That's CANASSTECH.com. Or call us toll free at 1-844-795-8324. For all your assistive technology servicing needs, call Chaos Technical Services at 778-847-6840 or find them online at chaostechnicalservices.com.
Whoa, look at that. Master of the one take.